First and foremost, as it has been said, I'm Ogero David from Igonga, currently Igonga Secondary School. I've been at Igonga now 1.5 years. Ogero has taught in quite a number of schools. Previously, St. Charles Ruanga, Ogero, Kisii High School, Nyakeiri, among others, after coming from Eastern Province. And I've done this marking for quite a while now. And I want to appreciate Mr. Yogo and team for organizing this workshop. As teachers of business, we really enjoyed reading or getting information from our wall lesson study. And I want to appreciate them that have given their comments, especially this part of the first session where Mr. Yogo took us through, where many of us back in our schools, we ask ourselves, what is within the syllabus and what has been removed from the syllabus? Indeed, if you followed it closely, and we put that into practice, we will take our learners to what they expect as they prepare for their examinations. Mr. Yogo has taken us through quite a number of aspects. And now that this workshop is to share experience, to share strategies on how or what we do back in our schools, big schools, medium schools, and even the small schools, the day schools. What is this that people are doing different from the others that make them score a good mark? Just to remind ourselves of what Mr. Yogo said, that we face quite a number of challenges, and that makes us know to cover the syllabuses. Among those that he mentioned, I want to add one where we have a program back in school, especially the extra mile lesson programs, which normally parents pay. If the school or the department that is charged with the responsibility of rewarding teachers after they have taken 1-2 hours or one lesson or two of their time and assist the students, if they are not prompt in paying, that brings cold blood. It goes slow. And of course, when there is a go slow, whatever that you are supposed to give to the learners, you transfer the problem to the class, and therefore you don't cover the work promptly. I've seen this one quite a number of times in the schools I've taught, that if you don't pay these teachers their remedial money, their extra, they call it extra mile money, that brings disjoint between what we do in terms of giving the learners the expected time. And that one, of course, will drag you behind not covering the syllabus. Another thing that makes us not to cover the syllabus in good time is failure of some of us not willing or wanting to give the learner that extra hour, that extra lesson that they require, especially outside the programmed schedules. People don't want to go outside their normal hours. They want to stick between 8 and 4:30 or 5, and they leave school. Good results, you have to go an extra mile. You have to do and live in an extra way where you go an extra mile and give the learners what they expect. If in that school that particular time, you want to give your learners the best result. So let us go outside the normal hours and assist that boy, assist that girl in class, more especially those that have challenges in particular areas. That will transform, that will change the normal and the usual grades that these boys and girls score in their schools. Good result has to start from each one of us as teachers. But quite a number of times, we'll pump this information, we impart that knowledge to these learners, and we want them to give us what we intend, what we expect of them. But the question I normally ask myself, yes, you want this boy, this girl to get a B plus and above. You want to get this boy get a C plus and above, which of course we call quality grade. But are they of that type? Are they going to give? Is that what they want? Because the moment you set a target for them, the learners might not, if they are not self-driven, they might not give that target that you want. I normally encourage and I expect these learners to set targets for themselves, not teacher-centered. It should be learner-centered, where they set a target for themselves. And I want to appreciate if you followed Mr. Yogo's example of the E. And at the end of the day, the boy gets a C plus. That is the only way to go. Let the learner set the target. And at the end of the day, they are going to score the grade that we want. The theme, as each one of us knows, or we were required, is to share experience on strategies, how we cover the syllabus in good time. Much has been said by our colleague, and I just want to top up what he said, that we target to cover the syllabus and have enough time, especially what the example we were given of Madam covering the syllabus within the first week, second week of February. And I want to say I've used that particular approach since last time we met at Gendia, and it has really assisted me to cover the syllabuses in good time. Normally, I have a full year to go in terms of revision. As I speak this morning, I'm done with the syllabus, and I'm now 1 week into the topical revision, which back in school I'm calling it the smart finish extra mile questions. Because we have covered the syllabus, now what next? It has to be smart finish revision questions, which is normally topical. How do I do it? I normally give the learners a chance to tell me topics or areas where they have a challenge. After I've walked them through the syllabus, now that they have a whole year to go, I normally have time with them where they write down areas where each one of them has a challenge. So I sit down and organize. I group these people, those students with the problems in a similar area. I call it a group. I put these learners into groups according to areas of weakness. That is a strategy that I'm using, and I'm seeing the fruits. So across the time, according to the number of groups that have developed from the learners' observation and work, I now draw a timetable because Monday to Friday, we have those lessons that we cover, the 4 lessons. I now set aside. Each group, I give them a lesson. Those who have a problem in cash book, for example, I set a time, 1 lesson for that, for the benefit of all of them. And I involve these people, these learners who have that particular problem. Because, as I said earlier, I normally go outside the normal time. I meet them separately. I take them through as a group. So that during the normal time, now when all the learners are there in class, I use that group to assist those others that might have not had a chance to be in the same group. And across the week, I do the same. That is, after I've done the cash book, we go to say to insurance, if there is a group of insurance, and across the weeks. And that is, it assists that particular group and the others. That is what I'm using, that is what I've done, and I'm doing, and I hope even those slow learners, as we said, those of low grades, now that they belong to a certain group, they will be, at the end of the day, be at the same level like the other students. After finishing the syllabus, there is the paper 1 and the paper 2 that my good friend Salome will take us through. The 25 questions. How do I go about the 25 questions? How do I prepare these students? How do I make these students be prepared in giving us good responses in paper 1? So after the group discussion, then the 31 topics that we have in our syllabuses, I develop these smart topical questions ranging from the very easy topics. Question number 1 should be very easy from 1 work. Very simple. It can be a table. It can be a question on classifying where you give responses. Then you ask the students to classify, say resources, human wants, whichever question, but a very, very, very simple question. Topic, that is question number 1. Number 2, all the way to number 5 should be fairly easy question. That is drawn from across the syllabus. So as you test these learners, that paper that you are developing, call it set 1, set 2 and all that, you should observe the content. It should be content, it should be valid according to the content as per the syllabus and the course outline that we have. Mr. Yogo took us through that what is to be covered in Form 1, what is to be covered in Form 2, and the last 2 topics in Form 3 before we have our whole year of coverage. Your test item should be valid and it should be content based as per the syllabus. We have those objectives. Stick to the objectives. Is it a reliable question? Or is it a reliable a paper that after you have tested the 25 questions, to the response, to the learners, give you a normal curve. When you draw a curve out of their result, does the class depict a normal curve? If it is a normal curve, then that particular paper is a reliable paper. You can be assured that indeed the students have given you a true picture of the content that you impacted in them. We also have to look at, as we develop that paper, look at the point of fairness. I'm looking at the qualities of a good paper, a good question. Fairness. Quite a number of us will come up with very easy questions. And the students will score. They will score, give you those answers, and you give them ticks and marks. Let that paper be not too easy or too difficult for the learners. So you have to, mix some questions which are easy, some of them medium, some of them difficult, so that not all of them score 100%, not all of them score 10% or below 30%. It should be a fair paper. A paper that will engage the learners. Mix some questions, application, recall questions, so that the students can be engaged, can think. I remember giving my learners a paper about 2 days ago. And I came to discover that there are some topics that they are not able to answer. And then I was asking myself, didn't I cover this particular topic? It gave me a chance to rethink and change my approach in terms of how I'm going to handle them during their revision. Let us motivate these people. When you engage the learners, look at the motivation. How smart are they in terms of their responses? Reward them. Encourage them. And as a colleague said, don't use abusive words that you cannot make it. It's like when I was teaching, you are sleeping, and that's why you gave such response. Motivate them. And the motivation, of course, not only will it be transform the way this student will participate in class and in terms of their answering, but at the end of the day, they will give good answers that will make them score a good mark. Let us encourage our learners through the way we test them. There's one other thing that quite a number of us are not doing, especially when we're handling them and when we are testing them. When the learners see you sacrifice
is required. A statement of an idea. For example, the cost of the base. And quite a number of our students will just say cost. Then as a teacher you ask, cost of what?
You are inviting them during their consultation. Some of them might come to ask, make a follow-up of what they didn't get. This may change the attitude that they have towards the subject, and they will cooperate with you. They will do what you want. Because they will look at, this teacher is so concerned about my performance, about this particular concept that I have not scored well. That will indeed change the way they perceive. They look at the paper, they look at the subject, and they will cooperate more and more. So as we develop these papers, set 1, 2, in paper 1, not only in paper 1, also in paper 2, it's good we use the very many textbooks that we have, including the NEC past exams. It will give you, it will give you a chance to even see which particular objectives have not been tested. But quite a number of you, of us, colleagues, I want to say that now that the Director of Studies will say that exams are going to be done between this day and this day, set your papers and hand them in 2-3 days' time. Some of us will rush and just lift a past paper and have it word for word. I want to encourage each one of us to look at what has been tested. Let's use this book, the teacher's handbook. Let us look at the syllabus, the next syllabus, and ask ourselves, in this particular topic, what objective has never been tested? And give it priority. Develop a question out of that. And if you have exhausted that has not been tested, then you can also repeat, because it is not a crime to repeat a question or an objective that has been set in the past. We have seen many times, even the council, the NEC repeating a question that was there a previous year. More especially questions that were not done well the previous time. Those ones stand high chances of being repeated again. So if we start with those that have never been tested, and we end up with those others that have frequently tested in the exam. In that way, of course, we will create that confidence in the learners that this is a new area, this is a question that has never been tested. And of course, it also gives them the confidence that what is normally tested by NEC is what our teacher will also test. And our learners will become good every time we set these exams. In our syllabus coverage, don't be alone in that school, unless probably you are the only business teacher. But quite a number of schools, we work as a team. There is the business maths, the business geography, business, another subject. Let us work as a team. Whether your colleague is not in business, fully in business, you can involve the colleague so that you make a team that will manage these learners, especially when you want them to make consultation, so that you are not seen as the only master in that school and in business. Let them know that maths geography teacher is as good as that geography business teacher, because business cuts across the 2 or 3 teachers in that school. So that the learners can feel that the other teacher can assist. I normally use this slogan back in school, that the nearest doctor is the one to save life. So the nearest doctor, the nearest teacher in business should assist the learner. Don't own those students. Let even the other teachers own them. If a colleague of yours is in business, bring this colleague on board, so that, as Mr. Yogo said, when those quality grades come, we share. But somebody will want to own them, so that hizo quality grades kiingia unachukua zote. Let us share by sharing the students, by involving your colleagues, to make a dedicated team who will manage our learners as they transit through the school. Create a friendly working relationship between the teacher and the learner. Involve them in their discussions. Guide them. Especially when you have walked them through the syllabus. What next, my dear colleagues? Guide them. Let them feel that you are part and parcel of what they are discussing. So let it be a guided discussion. I normally follow them up. I am in a boarding school. Every evening after their remedial extra hour that we normally give, 2 hours we normally give them at night. After that, we allow them to go into their discussion groups. But you must, as a teacher of business, and if it is a day for them when they are doing their discussion, be close to them so that you know what they are discussing. Because quite a number of them will be seen in a corner, somewhere in a class, doing a discussion, but they might be discussing things that might not add value. And remember, paper 1, paper 2, there is a way we want those answers look like for them to score. So if they are not giving us a statement of what we expect them, they don't score. Because in paper 1, what is this that we are marking? We are marking an idea. Like, for example, we want them to give a statement, state 4 elements of internal environment, if that is topic number 2. Are these learners, did they understand when you walk them through that particular topic? Did they understand every element of internal? What is this that is affecting the business from within? And the business has control over them. Did they understand? So as they revise and they are discussing about that particular topic, ask them, because you are guiding them on how they ask them, jog their mind, that if a question comes like this, change the question during their discussion, and that will open their mind instead of them cramming and cramming and cramming. And let us use, of course, as we said, the random test during the extra mile lessons after the syllabuses have been covered. I also use another method where in class, those charts and slogans, especially for every topic, there's something that will remind when they see it hang on the wall. These learners will, especially those topics that are challenging, like the national income, like the international trade, like insurance. This is a very common topic that students normally have a challenge. You can have small cuttings and you paste them on the walls. So when a student is in class and sees that, that one reminds the learner of the area that was or is a problem. I normally use what we call the talking walls, where our learners get to understand what they are expected of that particular topic as per your cutting. Open door policy. I normally use open door policy, where the learners work as a team. They can come one at a time, or they can come as a group, where every student has equal opportunity to ask at any time when they are free. That's quite a number of, that's what some schools, some teachers use, where they allow students to ask questions in areas of weakness as an individual or as a team. So allow them to do that, and it will really assist them to do their revision. During their discussions, allow them and make them or cause them to see the sense of managing their time well. Many schools have this tendency or way of allowing the learners, especially where they are movement by running. I normally see it quite a number of schools where the students don't waste time. You can develop the random tests time over lunch break, evening time, where students are allowed to rush, take their meal, and have the papers ready for them on their desks, and they write. We used that one in Kisu when I was in Kisu school, where we have the maths hour, they have those very many ways of branding them, maths hour, chemistry for supper, and you can also come up with the business, where students from one point to another point, they know that there is a paper waiting for them, especially the random assessment tests, so that they rush, clear that paper, 10 questions or 5 questions, whichever number that you have designed for them, and they write that exam. One good thing about this random test, if you give the learners immediate feedback, one thing that we do as teachers, which I've never liked all this time during my teaching time, is you develop an item, you develop a question, and you don't come up with a marking scheme. So that after you have assessed the learners, some sharp students will ask that, please teacher, give us the marking scheme, so that during our revision time, discussion time, we can see, we can check and see where we went wrong. So quite a number will say, check in the textbooks, check your books. So, and you mark, meaning that you had marked without a marking scheme. So as you develop paper 1, paper 2, come up with a marking scheme that is comprehensive, having all responses, possible responses. Mr. Yoga has given us, normally when we normally read in our wall, a question having more than 10, even 15 responses. Meaning that as a teacher, we have used all the available material, including the internet. We can come up, we can Google and get some of the points. So that when students, you give that to student the marking scheme and we have all those responses, this student obviously will know that our teacher is widely read. That is part of the confidence that you will put in them to see that, to show them that you're a good teacher that they have. Improvise, especially those resources that the school might not have, and have posed a challenge. Improvise some of the simplest one. You can have those charts if you cannot acquire, especially those that will require financial implication. We can improvise, come up with the charts, come up with, you can even use the slides, which we have acquired from Mr. Ogero. He has developed one for us, and which is actually very good. So, in paper one, what is this that we should do? What is this that we normally see in our learners? There are common terminologies that are used by the setters, and most of our learners have a challenge. A student was asking me, teacher, when a question is asking highlight, when a question is asking me to outline, is there a difference? A question is, I'm being asked to give a statement or to state. How can I know the extent of the answer? So during our testing then, you can mix those words and allow the learners to come up with a statement of the idea, an outline of the idea. What is it that we want to see in their answers? Because in paper one, those of us in paper one, we mark ideas. We don't mark like Salome and the colleagues do in paper two, where the learner is supposed to come up with an idea and justification of that idea. But as in paper one, we will want to see the idea coming out. Whether it is a statement, whether it is a highlight, whether it is outline, the most outstanding idea should come out. A statement of what? What is the question asking? A statement. If it is circumstance, can that idea come out? Give, for example, give 4 circumstances under which cash with the order is applied. Is the idea coming out that money will be required to be paid as you place the order? When do we see that one used? But quite a number of students will not come up with the circumstance, and that is a big challenge that we see on learners' responses when we are taking. So the circumstance must come out. Let us encourage our learners by testing, by giving them quite a number of those questions that will ask or require them to give circumstances, so that we see whether they know that they must they must start their responses with words like where and when and in case and if. So if that one is not there, then wrong them. Let them understand that if it is in the final exam, they will score nothing, because that is a requirement in the final exam, because that is what we normally go in for. If a student has not given the circumstance using or starting with those words, then they don't score. So let us mix those words when we are testing our learners in paper one. Some of the questions should be highlight, for, let us use words like mention, let them identify, let them classify, let them give a statement. You can even also use, like we have seen in the past, a diagram. A very common one is this demand and supply. A diagram is given, then we want students to understand, to interpret what the diagram is showing. Either it's a shift or a movement, showing that is it an increase in demand? If it is to the right, is it a decrease? If it is to the left? From time to time, let them see some of these questions coming up. Ask some of the questions. Have those tables where, like we normally see questions on inflation, when we want to see them computing consumer price index, so that our learners can have a feel of the various ways that the examination council will expose them to at the end of their course. So some of the questions should be graphical, some of the questions should be used diagram, some of them, let them have a table where where they will be required one word to jog up their mind to see whether they can come up with specific words. A mix of general question, a question that will require just a general response. Other questions should be those that are specific. For example, if we, like the other year when we had a diagram, demand curve, a shift to the right. Ask the learners whether they know that the factors that we require them to come up with are so specific. Because if it is increase in demand, because the diagram or the graph is a shift to the right, then students will tell you consumer income, will tell you government policy, will come up with those funny answers. And we normally wrong them. They don't score. Because that question is so specific. It is implying an increase in demand. So let us expose them. And during our revision, we emphasize that. So that a question that is directional requires the response to have a specific direction, a specific answer, not a general answer. So when you expose these learners, some of the questions that will require general responses, some requiring specific responses, having some direction, the better for them. So that across the year, if you have covered the syllabus in good time, these learners will have an opportunity of giving the examiners the required responses that will translate to good and good quality grades. So let them have the 2 hours, give them a good grade. And as we ask in our series of tests, cover every level of content. The commerce, the accounting, the economics, the office management or practice, entrepreneurship. Let us have all questions coming from across. And back when I'm developing a paper 1, I normally look at commerce and I normally give it more emphasis. I give more questions. When it is, I'm testing, I'm coming up with 6 questions from one work. Some 6 questions from 3 work. Some 6 questions from 4 work. I give an extra question to the Form 2 work, where I come up with 6, 7, 6, and 6 to give us 25 questions. Or you can even give Form 2 work, because commerce takes the bulk of the integrated syllabus. You can even give it 8. Across the years, we have seen NEC coming up with either 7, 8 questions from Form 2 work, which is commerce. So if our learners get to understand that commerce has more, then they will give Form 2 work more emphasis and they do a lot of revision. So as we develop, don't leave out a topic. At least tuguze kutoka kila topic. A question from every topic. Say that if there are 25 questions, it means if you ask a question from every topic, it's only, and you are testing, you are asking 25 questions, it will mean that it's only 6 topics that will not be tested. Which of course you will you transfer these areas not tested in paper 1 to paper 2. So every topic, at least give it, set a question from there, so that these learners can know that we in business we don't have a boundary, just like in other in other subjects where they know that questions will come from specific areas. Ours is integrated. So if they get to know it right from Form 1, as they grow up to Form 2, to Form 3 and 4, they will come to like that our paper, there is nothing that will be left unturned. So turn every topic inside out, and more now that we'll cover our syllabuses in good time, so that these learners can have time to go over and over again. So structure, have an outline, a course outline on how you are going to ask and test these learners, so that at the end of the day, you have exhausted, say, topic number 1. Because they will ask, like we saw last year, they're asking about, the branches, those disciplines in business studies. You can even go specific. Why do we teach them commerce? Next time, ask them, why do we teach them accounting? So, by the end of the day, you would have really exhausted. These learners will have understood every discipline that we teach in business studies. Go to topic 2, all the way to the last topic, economic planning and development. Our learners will be well prepared all round. So as I don't want to repeat what Yogo talked about under note making. If we use his approach of note making, our learners will not have a problem, especially in this paper 1. Because paper 1, as I've said earlier, is we only want a statement of what we require them, a statement of that idea, a statement of, or factors of location, if I can give that as an example. That idea, let them come up with that. But paper 2 will be left for them to do an explanation. So ours in paper 1, if they make very good notes, a mention of the point and the explanation, then these learners will score highly in paper 1 because there is no much is required. A statement of an idea. For example, the cost of the means. But quite a number of our students will just say cost. Then as a teacher you wonder, cost of what? So let them understand, read through the question so that they get to know what the question is asking. If it is cost of the means of transport, let them understand that. The question is asking factors influencing choice of a means of transport or communication or whichever area, so that they give us a statement of that idea. A full point. Let it be an idea, not just a word. Cost. Availability. Because many of them mention that. Why do not that sometimes we are considered during our moderation, we close the eye and give them a tick. Otherwise they could be missing. So let us encourage them to come up with ideas, statement of ideas, as they come up with answers for those specific questions. The rest of the bit of words, I think we'll come out during the open session when we discuss. But I want to say that we come from different schools, some national school, extra county school, day schools. What you use, depending on the type of learners you have, is going to assist us so that, assist this team here, so that we can customize, we can borrow a leave, what is this that national schools are doing? How are they, what do they do? I was sharing with the madam and she was telling me that when they develop these papers and they have a joint exam, they don't even actually take part in the setting. They go out and source for examiners to test, to ask or to test, to set a paper for them, for the boys and the other colleagues who have joined in that joint exam. It's not the preserve of Kapsabet boys that the teachers set and set and set. So ask a colleague from a neighboring school to come up with a paper for your boys or girls, so that these learners can know, be exposed to a variety of the setting, because they might have been used to the way you ask these questions. Let somebody else.
We can discuss during an open what each one of us does back in our schools, so that we can share. David Ogero is not a person that knows it all. I will learn one or two. Like I learned from Madam during the Gendia seminar or workshop, and this is what has made me cover the syllabus.
But in a situation where, time might not allow, you can ask them to mark for you. You can also do the marking, so that you are to knowing that that boy, that girl scores this. Let somebody give you a picture of what they have seen in that candidate. It will add value, and it will give you a chance to even be able to advise the learner on the mistakes that your colleague has identified in the learner's paper. This, I've seen it work. I've been used sometimes back by Bishop Linas, where they ask me to come up with a paper, they administer, they send the papers to me, I mark, and I go revise with the girls. Right from term 1, go to term 2. So by the time they are in term 2, towards the end, the candidates will know that that is an independent examiner that has marked our paper, not our own teacher. And probably that is an examiner that will look at our paper during the final exam, and the students will be very, very, very serious. I've done it quite a number of times, not only for learners, but for quite a number of schools, where I set a paper, I mark, and go back to that school and give them my observation from my marking. We can also use that technique where we use our neighboring schools or a friend school to do that for you and you for them. It can work. A good paper should have all the aspects, should have the accounting, and give that accounting also, give it quite a number of questions, especially in paper 1, give it about 2, 3 like this, so that paper 2, they will give their usual 2 that we normally see in paper 2. But a paper should not miss an accounting question in paper 1 and also in paper 2. Simple questions, not so detailed, 4 marks, because we normally see 4 marks, maximum 5. So come up with a variety of these, but start with what has been tested in the past, the frequency of those questions in the accounting, and even in the other areas. Start with what has been tested in the past. How frequent is an area tested? So if an area is tested more times, it has come up more times, the chances of it are coming again 2023 is very high. So during your projection, go back to what has been tested in the past, see the frequency of NEC asking or testing from that particular topic, and you do the same. I normally do a lot of statistics when I'm doing my final projection in terms of when a topic was tested. We have seen it in our world, where from 2006 all through down to 2022, how often is a topic tested? That one will give you a picture of what is likely to come in the current period in question. This far, I want to stop here so that the bit of the remaining bit we can discuss during an open, what each one of us does back in our schools, so that we can share. David Ogero is not a person that has knows it all. I'll learn one or two. Like I learned from Madam during the Gendia seminar or workshop, and this is what has made me cover the syllabus. So look at the syllabus. See those topics that flow into one another, and let it be continuous. So like when you are starting with the net worth of a business, the accounting, let the accounting cover the accounting, the whole of accounting. But don't use the way the textbooks have arranged those syllabuses. So when, like 2022, 2023 preparation, when I started with the accounting, it spilled over, it went into Form 4 work, and the order was, or I didn't follow the order that the books have set. After covering money and banking, I covered economic planning and development. I went back again to public finance. I went to inflation. Then I had to, the other week, I had to clear with international trade. So it is not the way the syllabus has been arranged, but you can reorganize. You are the master, you are the person on the ground, you are the one to deliver that content to the learners. Which order? So I rearrange according to order of how easy topics are and how long you are going to cover every bit. So that those that will take a short time, like inflation, public finance, those ones should take a pretty short period. 1 week is enough to cover such short topics. If we follow that and we share what you do, I think, and we blend, we will go back re-energized and ready to drive these boys and girls to finishing the syllabuses in good time.
5 factorials, the way we did it to Mr. Yoko. Can we start? Thank you so much, sir. We are really grateful. We don't take this for granted. We have learned a lot from your presentation. As an experienced examiner, I want to believe we are going to apply this so that our candidates can equally do well and perform.